I've been a late night player. I've been broke as a joke. I've been a money maker. I've been a record breaker. Taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky thing. Popping, locking, stopping, let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make the whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school. We think we're so cool. We take it back to the past. We gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger, make my Jaeger.
Hello, and welcome to Sports Buzz, the Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable Channel 23, downtown Danbury, Connecticut. And yet it is another not-so-spring-like day, I guess, rainy.
Rainy is
rain in the spring weather. We keep, weeks keep going by. We keep waiting for it to get really nice. Hasn't quite happened, but here we are on the 8th of May, and we are actually back live in studio. Schedules and things got in the way again the last couple of weeks, but we're ready to catch up on the playoffs, get up to date on what's been happening in baseball for the first month or so of the season, and all those other things. First, let's say hello to my right-hand man, Mr. Bob Broad Jr. Hey there, Bobby. How you doing?
I'm good, and you?
I'm doing all right, not too bad. Good to be back. Good to be here talking sports.
Yeah.
We missed a lot of things happening, so we need to catch up on that.
We missed a major mess.
Locally?
Yes.
Locally speaking?
Yes.
He must be speaking of the Danbury Whalers.
Yeah, the collapse was a better word for it.
Last we were here, they were up 2-0, but we warned everyone that those were two very close, tightly contested games at home that they won to open that series, and it wasn't going to be easy to finish off Dayton.
And then they go on the road, and Mike Brown gets injured, so the backup goalie had to go in and work, and
things went downhill from there. And they lost those 2 games in Dayton, and they came back home for a deciding Game 5, and boom goes the dynamite. The Demons.
The first period, the Demons were up 2-1.
Close
and
game.
then it was 2-2 in the second period, but that's as far as the Whalers got.
And all of a sudden the wheels fell off.
It just piled up. The
floodgates opened, and the goals just kept
never
coming.
Stopped.
And the next thing you knew, it was 9-2 in the deciding game of the FHL Championship, and the Demons hoisted the Commissioner's Cup on Danbury's home ice.
It was a terrible thing to see them to celebrate on your ice.
Not something you ever want to have happen in any sport, anytime, being at home and watching the opponent celebrate a championship. But it happened, and it was another good season for the Whalers. They were looking to get the back-to-back trophies, win the Cup for the second year in a row, but they could not finish the deal. Just didn't quite have it in the end there. The first 4 games, even with the injury to the goalie, those 2 games in Dayton were still pretty close. I know one of those 2 at least was. So there was highly contested games, and then, like you said, even in the second period, it was 2-2. And then all of a sudden, it was just over.
Yeah, it went 5-2, and then the third period was everybody was just ready to leave and just go home.
Right. All right, so let's make mention of Bob's show, Spotlight On, Tuesday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 12. I'm sure some of that hockey action's been there.
It's been there, but nothing of that mess.
No, we're not showing that. Burn that tape.
Yes.
And of course, Westerners Roundup is now on the air as we're getting near the Danbury Westerners season beginning.
Which follows us.
And they're on 6:30 right after us, and also they re-air right after us on Fridays at 1:30. We, of course, re-air at 1 o'clock. In the studio running things, Mike Toohey and his show, Expose Cinema, Friday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 1. You can check out what he's talking about, hard-hitting, Expose Cinema, breaking down all the news stories that maybe you don't always hear in the mainstream news, which is good to keep your ear to that sort of thing so you know what's really going on out there. And the number, 203-792-4101. If you've missed us for the last couple of weeks and you just want to call.
And we'll talk about anything.
Whatever you want to talk about, you know. We're going to move on, and we're going to stay on the hockey theme, and we're going to the Stanley Cup playoffs before we get to the NBA playoffs. Your Rangers and my Bruins both in a little bit of trouble. Bruins tonight, 7:30 in Montreal, looking to even up the series as they are down 2-1 And it's really the biggest fear for Bruins fans when they face the Canadiens. Weird things happen. Games just get dicey, strange happenings, unpredictable, not your usual. They don't play the way they usually play. Emotions get too high. They make mental mistakes. Next thing you know, they're losing, and now they're down 2-1. First 2 games in Boston were crazy.
Right.
They came down from 2-0 to force overtime. They had every opportunity in the world 3 times in the overtime where the puck was by the goalie but did not get into the net somehow. And you just started to get that feeling that too many chances were going by the boards without them winning, making the comeback complete and winning in OT. And sure enough, in the second overtime, on the second power play of the overtime for the Canadiens, Bruin killer PK Subban delivered the slap shot for the winner, so they lose game 1. Then in game 2, depression starts setting in as it's 3-1 in the third period, nothing going right for the Bruins, and suddenly they go on a tear and reel off 3 straight goals over the matter of like 5 minutes. And they take the 4-3 lead, then they get the empty netter in the final minute to win it 5-3 and even up the series, and you're feeling like, all right, they got through some of the early nerves and jitters and the things that always happen against the Canadiens, and we'll go to Montreal and we'll handle our business. Not so, as Montreal pounces on them early, takes control of the series, up 2-1. Now the Bruins in a desperate situation, needing to even the series tonight. They had a great first-round series against the Red Wings, dispatching them in 5 games, and really played tremendous. They were less than 1 goal against in that series.
It was.
As they gave up 1 goal in 4 of the games and 0 goals in a shutout. So they were under 1 goal against as they played tremendous in that series, wrapping things up. But now they got themselves a handful as they seem to be scrambling here and just not playing well after playing so good in round 1. So we'll see what happens tonight in a crucial game 4. Your Rangers, Bob.
Yes, I know. We handled the Flyers, but the
took
Penguins,
7 to get through the Flyers, but it was a good series.
The Penguins were having a little trouble.
Penguins had trouble against Columbus, but they end up finishing in 6. They get a couple days off, but the Rangers end up, after finishing off the Flyers in 7, going down to Pittsburgh in game 1 and winning a nice, thrilling overtime, and they're starting to feel pretty good about themselves. But again, the bugaboo, Bob, they cannot win a game when they're leading in a series.
I know.
This dates back 11, 12 games now in the course of the previous years in the playoffs. If they go up a game in the series, they lose. They never pad the series lead to get a 2-game lead.
I know.
Even against the Flyers, it was back and forth.
I know.
The only games they won were when the series was tied.
Right.
And that got them through. And it's amazing, too, because they've won playoff series in recent years, yet they never win to get that 2-game series lead. And again, with the 1-game series lead against Pittsburgh, they get shut out on Sunday night in Pittsburgh, and then the schedule is just out of control. What is the deal playing back-to-back days with travel included, coming back to Madison Square Garden on Monday night?
It makes no sense.
I mean, that is an outrage that they would do that in the scheduling. So really, I mean, the home team is at a disadvantage in that situation, if you ask me, because they're taking the rest away from the home team and giving, they didn't get to come home, unpack, get in their own beds and relax. They have to come back, unpack, and get right to the arena and play a game again the next day. So, that was a pretty unfair deal for them. I thought, having to play back-to-back days against the Penguins, and they get shut out again. And then the Boo Birds start coming, and in Game 4, they go down. What was the final on that one? 3-1?
3-1.
3-1. So not converting on the power play, cannot get any power play goals at all. And, just having an offensive problem with the way things are going there. So really not pretty as far as that goes. So they're in a desperate situation as they head to Pittsburgh down 3-1. We hear that Mr. Mike McFadden is here. We'll call him into the studio. Not quite yet. We're going to keep talking other stuff. We'll get him once we get to baseball. So have him hold tight as we will get our Met Maniac fan in here in just a little while. But we're going to continue on with what I was talking with the hockey. Out west, we'll just touch on that real quick. Chicago had a great comeback in round one against St. Louis.
Right.
They lost 2 games at home in the opening round in overtime, thrilling fashion against the Blues, and they looked like they were in big trouble. And then they returned the favor, heading to St. Louis and winning OT games there.
Right.
So, and they reel off 4 straight, shocking St. Louis after St. Louis was up 2-0. So the Blackhawks advance into the second round, where they are taking on the Wild. They hold a 2-1 series lead right now over the Wild. The Wild did end their 6-game win streak because they won the first 2 games after losing the first 2 to St. Louis. They win 4 in a row there, and then the first 2 in the series against Minnesota. Minnesota, great job by them,
yes,
Bob.
It was a great
in Colorado in a back-and-forth series that went 7. And on like we were talking about, a team celebrating on your home ice, they advanced to the second round against Patrick Waugh and the resurgent Colorado Avalanche, who had a great series this year. And Waugh was looking to lead them into the second round, but the Wild stunned them in overtime in Game 7. So the Wild do advance, and they did get a big win, 4-0 against Chicago. So no team has lost yet on home ice. So that series is still up for grabs, even though they're down 2-1. The other series out west, how about L.A., Bob? Our Connecticut kid,
he's doing
Jonathan Quick, in net. They looked like it was all over for them as San Jose scored 17 goals in the first 3 games against them, took a commanding 3-0 series lead, and it looked like it was all over for LA. It was going to be a quick exit, but no.
They come back.
They come back. 1 game, another game, all of a sudden they win Game 6 and they're heading home for Game 7, and they get it done, complete the comeback entirely, shock San Jose. Unreal that they could get this done against the Sharks. And really, I just have to wonder, as being a Bruins fan and following Jumbo Joe Thornton's career ever since he was traded to San Jose, I just have to wonder how many years of heartbreak is this going to be for him and San Jose. It's been the same story every year. They're great during the regular season. Maybe they win round 1 and it looks like they're on their way again. And then all of a sudden, complete collapse, shutdown, and they are out. So the Kings now have done what Chicago has done and won 6 games in a row. After losing the first 3, they reel off 4 in a row against San Jose, and they have taken the first 2 in Anaheim. They're heading home with a 2-0 lead against the Ducks, and that they haven't even had to leave the state of California, Bob.
Wow.
They get to play San Jose, now they get to play Anaheim.
Right.
They're feeling pretty comfortable right now, and they're looking to get to the Western Conference Finals. All right, so that's the Stanley Cup playoff picture. Let's move to the NBA.
Are those Nets?
Nets are in the second round. They survived, outlasted maybe it was, Toronto Raptors. Good series. And really, Bob, round 1 of the NBA playoffs, 5 Game 7s. There was plenty of overtime games. We even had a few buzzer beaters and some crucial suspensions, which played a big factor as well. So a lot happened in round 1, including the Nets holding on for dear life in Toronto in Game 7 against those young Raptors. And really, watching this game, Bob, I had to just think to myself, I don't think I've ever seen a team at home play as miserably as Toronto did in a Game 7. Trying to advance to the next round, they played terribly, but yet here they were with the ball down 1 with 6 seconds left and a chance to actually win this game. The Nets just desperately tried to hand it to them, but they couldn't do it. Big play by Paul Pierce, the former Celtics. I still have a hard time watching him in KG in Brooklyn. It's a little difficult seeing them get all fired up come playoff time here, showing that raw emotion, what carried them through so many great playoff games for the Celtics. But he comes up with the rejection at the buzzer to secure the victory and get them into round 2 against Miami. So that was a great first-round series. The other good first-round series in the East, the Pacers had to go 7 against the Hawks, Bob. Right. And what I talk about tanking all year, Bob.
Oh, yeah.
It's a waste of time to tank because you never know what's going to happen. You could match up against the number 1 seed who is just collapsing in front of our eyes, the Indiana Pacers, and you could be the Hawks and be winning in Game 6, looking to advance up by 5 with 3 minutes to go. And they couldn't close the deal, but that's the type of thing that can happen if you just hang around and get yourself in the playoffs instead of tanking. So the disappointment of the Celtics tanking, I think, is twofold, and really more to the point, the Bricks, who were not tanking. The New York Knicks, I mean, if they could have beaten out the Hawks for that 8th seed, they could have taken on a Pacers team that is just a shell of itself, and they could have easily got to the second round. But the Pacers survived the Hawks, and they get to move on, and they take on the Wizards, the upstart Wizards, Bob. Les Wiz, they run away and run by the Bulls. Everybody thought the Bulls were the tough team here, but the Wizards get it done in 5 games. They survived the suspension to Nene in Game 4 and beat the Bulls in that crucial game to maintain the series lead, go up 3-1, and then they went back to Chicago to finish it off. So now we got Pacers, Wizards, they're tied 1-1. Roy Hibbert, who's been a ghost of himself, suddenly with the huge game last night, Bob, 28 points. So maybe the Pacers are back. We'll see.
We'll see.
Heat blew out the Nets in Game 1. Maybe there was a little hangover from the 7-game series against the Raptors. Crucial Game 2 tonight for Brooklyn against Miami. And we also know that the Nets did sweep the regular season series 4-0 against the Heat this year, but that doesn't mean much when it comes playoff time. The Heat look like they're ready to go. It was too bad for Charlotte, our King Kemba Walker, and the Bobcats. Big Al Jefferson injured his foot, plantar fasciitis, in the first game of that series. He hobbled through the next 2 games, but could not make it to the end of that series, and the Heat swept them as they were not at full strength, as King Kemba and Big Al are the 1-2 punch that need to be at full strength. So it was disappointing that he got hurt in like the first quarter of Game 1. Out west, of course, the big story in the NBA was the Clippers and Ron Sterling and him getting banned for life for the racial comments he made. Really just a bizarre story all around. We'll leave this, to the talking heads in the media who salivate at these sort of things. 24-hour news cycles, just loving every minute of it, talking it up the most they can. Twitter exploding, people putting their opinions out there. But, obviously what he said was completely ridiculous, and the NBA steps up and they banned him for life. So he's gone, and that was the backdrop of what was a great 7-game series against Golden State. And what did I tell you, Bob, about Golden State and their coach, Mark Jackson?
You did.
If they did not win, he was going to get fired. And he does get fired, even though he led them from the abyss. This team was dead and buried 3 years ago. He comes in, turns the whole program around. They get to the second round in a great series against San Antonio. They win 50 games this year, go 7 against a good Clippers team with the backdrop of this whole thing, and he gets fired. So I think that's going to be bad news for the Warriors going forward. But the Clippers advance, and they blew out Oklahoma City in Game 1. OKC got back after Durant was named MVP, picked up the trophy yesterday, and then went over 30 points last night, and they even up the series 1-1. San Antonio and Dallas had a great 7-game series. Vinsanity lives, Bob. Resurfaced after all these years. Vince Carter with the buzzer beater in one of those games against San Antonio. So Dallas had a crucial game there early on in the series. So that was nice for them. And that was really a great series. Good action all around. There we see another buzzer beater as Portland knocks out Houston in Game 6, and it was Lillard at the buzzer, inbounds a pass with 9/10 of a second left, drains the 3, turn out the lights, we're going home, lock the door on your way out, we win. They win it all. They move to the second round. They also got blown out in Game 1 against San Antonio. They'll look to get back in it tonight in San Antonio. So that's the basketball action. If Mike wants to move his way in and get his microphone plugged up, I'll start talking about some baseball here, and we'll see if Mike can chime in with us as we move him in to his first on-camera
spot.
We had him off camera talking one night, which Bob couldn't stand when he was in the hospital and had to call in. We know how that went down, Mike. But this time we're going to get you in. We're going to get your opinions on the Mets as he gets his microphone set up. AL East right now, Bob, awfully tight.
Yes.
O's are the front runner right now, 17-14. Yankees at 18-15 as they had a nice win last night to salvage their road trip. The Red Sox finally climbed to 500, 17-17, tie with Toronto, also at 17-17. Tampa Bay, even though they handled the Red Sox and the Yankees, they still find themselves down at 15-19. There we see the pine tar shot.
Oh, yes.
As Tui could not hold off. He had to go straight to George Brett.
Yeah.
As while we were gone, big story was Pine Tar Pineda. Second time around, he goes to the Pine Tar. We saw it in the first game, and nothing happened because they didn't see it in time.
They didn't catch it.
And then up in Boston, unbelievable. He does it again. After the first inning, he gives up a few runs, didn't have any control. He comes back out to the mound with Pine Tar all over his body. I mean, he's lathering up with this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And the Red Sox had no choice but to alert the umpire's attention to this. So they do that, and they, the umps goes out there and it says, that's Pine Tar, you're gone. Ejected. He's been suspended for 10 days. That's got to be coming to an end. But Mike's got his microphone all set, so let's say hi to Mike. Mike,
guys,
how you doing?
doing?
Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. Mike's been doing stuff behind the scenes for us on the audio and some graphics and things like that. But we're going to get his opinion on stuff. What did you think of that whole Pine Tar thing? I mean, what was the deal with him? Just how could he be so stupid, really?
Absolutely. And the thing that got me was how come none of his teammates, or if the coach said anything about it? I mean, you had to see it as he was walking to the mountain, as he was, warming up. No one said a word.
Yeah, they let him walk out to the mountain. It
was very visible. I mean,
you couldn't miss it. It was right there for everybody to see. And of course, the Red Sox were left with nothing else to do but to call their attention to it. They didn't want to do it because, pitchers in baseball use pine tar. It's something that goes on. It's like an unwritten rule. It's against the rules, but if you use it in moderation, you hide it somewhere on your body. Maybe the catcher hides it on his shin guard and puts it on the ball for the pitcher. That sort of thing goes on. But you can't lather yourself up with it and put it in plain sight for everybody. And when you're gobbing it up that much, I hear all these pitchers, former pitchers, talking on the media, that everybody uses it, but nobody uses it in gobs like that. Right. I think if you use it in gobs, how come that would not affect the baseball like a spitball or something like that, or Vaseline?
Right.
So I think he was looking for more than a grip with how much he was using it. So I don't know. His suspension will be coming to an end. The other thing with the Yankees was Ivan Nova injured, Tommy John surgery, out for the year. There has been, I think, 17 pitchers in the big leagues already early in the year going for Tommy John surgery this year, which is like, it's a problem right now. Let's take a look quickly at some of the new guys for the Yankees. Ellsbury, 317. And actually right there we see that nice shot. The champion Huskies, Shabazz Napier, got to throw out the first pitch with the rest of the team behind him at Fenway in a recent homestand, so that was great. But Yankees, some of the new guys on the team, Ellsbury, 317, 10 stolen bases, so he's off to a decent start. Beltran, 5 homers, 14 RBI. You can see him having more RBI, but he's only batting .241. Not good. McCann, the catcher, who they're saying is going to be the leader of this team going forward when the El Capitan Jeter retires. I don't know why they're handing this title to him already. He's just got here. Anyways, he's batting a measly .209, Bob. And Brian Roberts batting .253. So some of the new guys not doing great. A couple of them doing okay as the Yankees up to an okay start. As we mentioned, they're in second place right now. In the AL East, real quick, Detroit 29, Chi Sox right behind them, 18-7. Kansas City hanging around 500, 16-17. Cleveland, they lost a few players after they had that good season last year, almost made the playoffs under Francona. They're at 15-19. Out west, Oakland 20-15. They lost 2 out of 3 in Boston this week. And Seattle, after losing 8 straight, they find themselves winning 8 out of the last 10 and recovering to go 17-16. We saw that photo before Robbie Cano as they came to Yankee Stadium. It took 2 games there as his return, and he got the booze. Texas 17-17, Angels 16-17. All right, NL East, and Mike, we bring him in, McFadden here, a Met fan.
You have 2 Met fans against the Red Sox.
We've talked to Mike off air before, and he got all lathered up with me about not the non-off-season moves that were made by the Mets. What are you thinking here about your Mets, who were off to a very good start after that terrible series against the Nats, and then all of a sudden lose 6 out of the last 7 on this road trip, and the bats go silent. Where are you at right now with your Amazons?
Well, you see that the one thing they have to show up is that their relief pitching, because they lost 2 of the games because of that. The hitting, I think, is going to come around. I would like to see them get another hitter in the lineup. But
Bobby Abreu, they picked up. What did you think about that?
I think actually that's not a bad pickup. Because
I don't think it was a terrible pickup either.
Yeah, I think
it's only off to 176 start, but only 11 games. I think he could actually get hot for them.
Absolutely.
And Granderson, we know, has been terrible, but he's coming out of it a little bit. 175, still unbelievable. He's hitting at 35
Ike
strikeouts.
Davis's history.
Ike Davis gets traded to Pittsburgh, so that was a big deal. Chris Young, another new guy. They got 246, 9 RBI, 2 homer. Bartolo Colon, who I think has pitched better than his record.
Absolutely.
He's had a couple bad games, but overall, 2-5 though, and 5.36 ERA. So, not good, losing 6 out of the last 7. They're coming home to face the Phillies, and then they got that 2-2 home and home with the Yankees next week. So that'll be intensity, ratcheting things up. We only got a couple minutes left. We should have got you in here sooner, but we're breaking the ice with you, Mike. We'll get this to be more of a regular thing as we start getting farther into baseball. Anything else about baseball you're looking at right now? You've been surprised with the Brewers, 22-13.
Absolutely.
With the way they come out, that's pretty hot for them. Cardinals 18-17, Big Red Machine Cincinnati 15-18, so not good. And the Pirates, who had the great breakthrough last year, these teams can't continue the success, 14-20, so they need to get their act together quick if they want to get back in the playoffs as they were last year. San Francisco out west, 21-13. Rockies, how about the Rockies? You just got to see firsthand what they did to the Mets. Big offense going on there.
That lineup is unbelievable.
And they got a kid who had a 26-game hitting streak. Tulowitzki's off to a red-hot start at 22-14. Rockies looking good. Dodgers right behind them, 19-16. Kentucky Derby went down this weekend. California Chrome, who I do not think is a Triple Crown contender, as he did not look like he was a distance runner, but he did have a good performance there to win it. And also in boxing, Mayweather, in one of his toughest fights ever, beat down in a decision, close one against Medina. And they're talking rematch. That might happen.
So let's get ready for coming up next.
Danbury Westerners Roundup. And John Pitzer is on the show airing tonight. We see in studio, we'll be taping for next week. Paul, not GM, what's his title? President Paul Schaefer on set, ready to go, waiting for us to get out of here. And also the NFL draft is tonight. I'll be watching the Bruins, however.
So we'll see you next week live, right?
We'll be back live, ready to go.